Bowersox.
I'm great, Kevin. How are you doing?
Excellent. All right. Maybe start this interview here. We're at Westminster High School with Mr. Stephen Bowersox. Now, did you grow up in Carroll County?
Kevin, I did. I was born in Westminster, 1963. I lived in town on Green Street, right above Green Street Hill, coming up off the bridge, that little flattened out area, until I was 15 years old. It was wonderful. Had free reign of the town. And then my parents moved out to Gablehammer Road, out towards Manchester, Hampstead. And it was still really nice, but I didn't have a car and couldn't drive, so I felt a little bit more isolated out there. But I've had a great childhood here in Carroll County. Okay,
great. What would you say Carroll County was like back in the 60s and early 70s when you were growing up?
Well, for me, I don't know if as an adult it might have been different, but for me it was a great place to grow up. It was very relaxed. Like I said, I lived in town, so I was able to go to the playground. I pretty much lived at the playground, playing basketball, football, whatever game was going on at the time. That's kind of where my friends would hook up. Also, I was able to just kind of roam around town. My parents must have felt that it was a safe enough environment to kind of just let us go, or maybe there's just too many of us to keep track of. So I'd get up in the morning, kind of get dressed on the weekend and just say, I'm going downtown, and I'd just walk down the streets and go into the shops. I always stopped at the Rexalls because they had 5-cent sodas at the time, and get a drink, listen to the local people. Had some interesting homeless people at the time. Percy, who used to carry his papers under his arm and big overcoat, would be there sitting at the counter, and walk down the street a little bit and then just hang out. There were no cell phones, there were no pagers, there were none of those kind of devices for keeping track of people. But none of us, I guess we didn't do anything really bad, so our parents let us do that pretty much every week, which probably why I still live here, because I have children, and I still feel it's a pretty safe town for that.
Great. I definitely agree with you. Now, you said you didn't necessarily get into a lot of trouble when you were a kid. Do you have any interesting stories in which that actually did happen?
Well, yeah, a couple. One thing that I share with, I guess, most of my classes sometimes of things not to do when you're a kid is, everybody who grows up around here, or at least many people will say, there's nothing to do in Westminster, So we tried to make our own fun. And at times we would drive around and have like water balloon battles between cars around town and those kind of things. And then one day we didn't have anybody to battle with, so my best friend and I filled up a 2-gallon bucket with some water balloons and just drove around town, throwing them at random people. Not hitting many of them because we weren't very good at it, and I couldn't throw because I was driving. But we did hit one man, and if you're watching this show and it was you, please don't hold it against me. But we were coming down Main Street, and there used to be a place called, what was it called? I won't dwell on it too long. It was a little deli place. East End Deli might have been what it was called. Kind of where the poorhouse was in that area. And there's a gentleman walking across the street, dressed for business, briefcase in his hand. And my buddy kind of planted a balloon right on his chest, and it blew up. And that was pretty funny. It was really funny until a little bit later on we saw a bubble light in our rear window, and the police were pulling us over because we were getting complaints for throwing water balloons at people, and we had to pop the balloons on the street and pick up all the pieces, and the officer knew my parents. So that's the other, growing up in a small town with parents who grew up in the same town, that might have been one of the problems. So that's just one of the stories. I don't think we need to talk about too many other ones.
Okay, all right, let's see what we've got here. That's a very excellent story. I can't say that I've actually done anything like that.
No, well, knowing you, Kevin, I can't imagine you ever doing anything like that.
Of course not. All right. And so that means you went to a high school here in Carroll County.
I did. I went to Westminster High School, right where we are right now.
Awesome.
I went to Westminster High School. All my family's gone to Westminster High School. My parents went to Westminster High School. Both my grandparents graduated from Westminster High School. And here I am teaching at Westminster High School. It's kind of nice, actually. Some people might look at that and go, oh my God, what have you ever done or where'd you go? But it's a very comfortable place. I like the kids here. And I had a great time here at Westminster High School. It was bigger then, not the structure, but we had over 600 kids in our graduating class. There were 2,400 kids in this building, and there's 1,800 now. and I don't remember any portables. We had classes in the auditorium and in the balcony and all over the place, but I don't remember any kind of confusion. I just remember it being a pretty good time.
Great. And it sounds like it. I mean, I love the school too. It's a great school. What did you do after you graduated from here?
After I graduated, I didn't do a lot for a little while. I was not real motivated at that time. Not sure what it was or why, or probably need a psychologist for all of those kind of things. But I worked. I didn't think I was ready to go to college. I had a brother who was in law school at the time. I had another brother who was at Towson, who was transferring to McDaniel College. We had moved a couple of years before. Money was kind of tight in our family. My parents were paying 2 mortgages. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I didn't want to go be a burden and go to school if I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I worked. I worked at Random House. I worked an evening shift there, stocking books, wrapping books, shipping books, all that kind of stuff. I worked at Balker's off and on, dipping ice cream, working out in the produce stand. And then after a few years of that, I was like, you know what, you really probably should get your act together. And I wanted to go to college, but I couldn't afford it at the time, and I didn't want to ask my parents. And I probably wasn't savvy enough to figure out all the loans kind of stuff at the time. So I went into the Army for 2 years. I've always been a huge history fan. Seemed like the natural thing to do, and there was money for school. There was the GI Bill. So I went into the Army for 2 years. I was a supply guy. Got stationed with an infantry company, battalion in Germany. I lived in Germany for 19 months as part of my military experience. And then when I came home, I started going to college after that. I think my first class was on my 24th birthday, actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
I went to Carroll Community College at first, which wasn't that beautiful building that's just down the road. My classes were in Westminster High School or in the old Robert Moton School, which is now the health department. And from there, I transferred to UMBC, where I got my bachelor's in history, and still really didn't know what I wanted to do with myself, and worked some other jobs in between, lots of different things. Commuted to Rockville for a while, commuted to Arlington, Virginia for 2 years, 4 hours on the road, working at an actuarial institute there, which is very math-oriented, which I am not. And so then I had the opportunity to go back and get my master's degree, and I got my master's at McDaniel in education and taught in Frederick County for a couple of years, and then I got the opportunity to come back to Westminster High School, so I jumped at it.
Great. Was there ever a moment in time where things just like clicked and you were like, I want to be a teacher? Yeah,
I don't know what it was, but I love history so much, and I love reading about it and talking about it. And there just aren't that many other professions out there where that's what you do. And I like kids, which I'm finding is very important as a teacher, because I know there are some who do not. And this can be an awful place to be if you don't like children, or not even children, young adults. But I get along with them well. I have 2 of my own, and I get to teach history and talk about stuff. And I like incorporating talking about Carroll County and the role it played in history. So where else could I do that?
Yeah, good call. Good call. All right. Now, when you went to Germany, what year was that?
It was the day the space shuttle blew up.
Really?
That was the first day I was on the post I went to. It was January of 1986. The Bears had just crushed the Patriots in the Super Bowl that year with the fridge and the shuffle. They had a little rap song going on at that time. And the next day I got sent to my duty station, which was in Erlangen, which is just north of Nuremberg. I joined the 2nd Battalion, 6th Infantry as a supply guy working at battalion headquarters. So it was good. Good times.
All in all, would you say that's a good experience?
Looking back on it, it was a great experience. At the time, I think there were moments when I was like, I don't want to be here. But it really helped me grow up and kind of get myself together, and made me realize just pretty much what a great life I had had prior to that, and probably didn't really appreciate it at the time. And just meeting a lot of different kids from a lot of different parts of the country, people were in the Army because they got busted selling drugs, and they were given the choice of you go in the Army or you go to jail, or they come from a lot of broken families. And I came from a really wonderful family and had a really great upbringing and background, and it was really, I appreciated my parents probably more after that than I did prior to that. So yeah, it was good. I mean, I'm sure there were days that were awful, but for the most part, the things I think back on are the kind of fun times I had. I got to see different places, and it was nice. I would recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let me think for a second real quick on the information that we've gathered so far. Okay, now, when you returned from Germany, was there anything that you were just like, oh, I have to do this? Was there anything different about Carroll County that you noticed when you got back?
Was there anything different? Well, it was really nice to be around people who spoke English all the time. As much as I liked going out in Germany and just walking down the street and going to the markets and kind of getting away from the people on my post, because I lived in the same room that was, about 1/10 the size of this classroom with 3 other people. And then I worked with them all day also. So we never got away from each other. And as much as we really did get along, there were moments where you just can't be around people that long. So I'd get out and walk around town, but communication was really hard. So when I came home, that was one of the nicer things. Getting to see my old friends who I hadn't seen in a while, and my family, but just being around people I could converse with and kind of communicate with. But one of the biggest changes that I saw when I came back, when I went to school here and grew up, none of the buildings that are across the street from the school were here. A lot of developments were not here that were kind of started. The mall was here when I came home. We had no mall. You had to go to Owings Mills. That was the closest place. So the mall was there. It was totally changed the landscape. You used to pull up to the light at Center Street and look out, and there was just an empty field with this old shack that had been abandoned. And now we have the Westminster, whatever it's called out there now, the Westminster Mall, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It brought jobs and things to the county, but it also has changed the rural feel. It's still a rural county if you ask anybody who lives closer to Baltimore, but it is not, I guess, as rural, more built up than it was when I left here. But things change. Nothing stays the same, so you just kind of adapt to it, and you kind of got to roll with the punches, I guess.
Again, sir, good call.
Yes.
So overall, you would say that living here in Carroll County has, you're happy living here in Carroll County. It makes you feel content.
Oh yeah, I love it here, and maybe it's just because it's so comfortable, and sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes I think you need to maybe challenge yourself and go other places. And get out of your comfort zone. But, I've got 2 daughters, one here at the school and one at West Middle School. I still feel really safe in Westminster. I know there are places that are not as nice anymore, but I still don't know if there's any place I wouldn't feel comfortable walking around. And so I don't have to worry too much about things happening here in the school building with my kids or whatever. And it's a nice community. There's nice people. It might be a little more conservative sometimes politically than I would like it to be, and not wanting things to change. But you gotta do what you gotta do, and I really like it here. My family still lives here. All of us have had opportunities to go other places, and we still live probably 10 minutes from each other in different communities around here. So yeah, I like it here.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bowersox.
Thank you, Kevin.